pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Maria.
Joe Coca,
Present.
Matt Crowe. He's absent and he's excused. Diane Lindsay.
Present.
Manny Barela.
Here.
Mike Sweeney.
Here.
Eugene Romero.
Here. Call for approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda as it's written here.
Moved by Mr. Sweeney. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Manny. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the minutes for May 11th. So do I hear a motion for approval of the minutes for May 11th?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for May 11th.
There's a motion by Manny Barela. Is there a second?
I was not present.
Mr. Coca, I think the only one.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. There's the Board of Adjustments approval or disapproval of an application for a variance on side and rear setbacks requirements to construct a carport in the backyard on the property located at 814 7th Street, Las Vegas. The application was submitted by Rodrigo Rod, Melanie S. Harris, property owners. Is there anybody here to present that?
Yes.
Could you please?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
could swear people in?
Yes, sir. Could you please stand to be sworn in for anybody for or opposed to it, or to present it?
Do you want to swear everybody in that's going to talk to about anything, or are you going to swear one
I
individual?
think it'd be a good idea, anybody that's here present to present, oppose or approve or be in approval of it, of any matter today, you please stand so that we can swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear and attest that what you say today will be to the best of your knowledge,
The truth, nothing
the
but
truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. So whoever's going to speak for Mr. Rodrigo and Ms. Melanie Harris, please come forth, please.
Where does that need to be?
Right here by this table.
Okay.
State your name, please.
Okay, my name is Melanie Harris.
Yes, ma'am. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
My husband and I, we would like to install a aluminum carport to cover our travel trailer and make about 40 feet long and 12 feet wide and 14 feet high. When we bought the property, there was already a driveway, a concrete driveway that went from the front of the house to the back. And we took up a large portion of the concrete because part of it was on the adjacent property. There had been an old building there. And to put the carport, we didn't want to put in the concrete, we wanted to put in the gravel. So we replaced that concrete with gravel, help alleviate rainfall and such like that. But we want two things: to protect the travel trailer from hail and that type of thing. And it's also kind of dangerous for us when we pull in and out of 7th Street because we're between National and I'm getting confused. But the light is on National, and so when the traffic is coming or going in, we're trying to back in the travel trailer. We get a lot of horns honking at us, and so we'd like to be able to just pull through. And so we're asking for a variance of 5 feet so that we're just 2 feet off of the property line, because that's the line of the driveway that was existing. And if we go in any farther, we won't be able to pull straight through. There's a pine tree in the way, and also we just can't get through that way if we put the carport there. And the trailer, I mean, the church is behind us, and they're gracious enough, you know, we can come in and out, but they have a lot of functions, and it could be blocked, so we wouldn't be able to even, you know, navigate the alleyway. So, and we'd like a 4-foot variance, I think, off of the alleyway. So that's what we're asking for.
Maria, I need to disclose that I have an issue with this because I own the property next door. It's actually listed as Joseph and Nikki Garcia, Joseph Griego, Nikki Garcia. So I own the property right next door to where Ms. Harris is talking about. And with that, does the board have any questions?
I have some questions.
Dan, go ahead.
Were there any, I don't know what I need to ask you something too as a neighbor, I suppose, but are there any other people commenting for or against it today?
I haven't,
against?
not that I know of.
Okay.
There might be some in the audience, but I received no telephone calls about it except from Gene telling me that he had purchased the property, even though it still states at the county assessors that it belongs to Joseph and Nikki. So he disclosed it to me on Friday, and as he disclosed, he now owns those 2 pieces of property right there.
Well, that's kind of helpful because my question is runoff from the roof. If the 2 feet is from the roof to the property line or the pole to the property line?
I guess from whatever the farthest piece of the structure is, that would, I mean, I don't think we would make it so that the roof would go over. I think it
Okay.
doesn't specify, but I wouldn't, the roof kind of goes right up against the poles.
So as a neighbor, would you have a problem with that?
That's what I was gonna bring up to Ms. Harris is, I was looking for, and I think I saw a picture of the structure in here.
Yeah, it's really close to the beginning.
Okay. The only problem I have with the whole thing would be the drainage, in the property owner next to you. It looks like you have an overhang on the structure because of the way the structure will be built. So I guess what I would request as the property owner next door would be to address the drainage with gutter and possibly a French drain to go from front of the building to the back of the building, just so that the water has a place to go.
Okay.
Because your property sits higher than mine,
Yeah.
and any of that drainage that's gonna come off that roof is gonna go onto my property. So that would be the only issue I have with it. Other than that, you're saying it's gonna be 2 feet from the fence line?
We were asking for that. Yeah, this is just where the driveway was.
And what are the normal setbacks, Maria?
7.
7 feet.
That's why she's asking for a 5-foot variance. So if she asks for the variance of 5 feet, she would be 2 feet away from the property line.
One, if I may,
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, we're willing to put in either a French drain or a gutter. We did take out that concrete and put in a gravel driveway, so that may also alleviate a little bit, so it's not just water hitting the concrete and rushing down. But we can put in either the gutter or the French drain.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I finish?
Go ahead, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Would you, as a neighbor, be okay with water collection, like a rain barrel, and a gutter and a rain barrel, and then you wouldn't lose all the water? Seems like in our These
They-
days, it really helps to have some rainwater.
I was thinking of the rain gutter, I'm just not sure how big they are. Because it would have to be on, I think, well, I guess the gutter could go around to the other side.
Or the back.
Yeah, it would have to run off the back. I mean, from what I've seen,
Yeah.
Dan, it would have to run off the back, like toward the alley. Honestly speaking, I would prefer both, a French drain and a gutter, with me being a property owner. And I don't know, that's what I would request.
Right.
Other than that, I don't oppose it. And I think we've had discussion about it. And other than that, I wouldn't oppose it, other than the drainage issue.
Okay.
Is there any other questions from any of the board members? I'm sorry, Diane, are you done?
I think I'm done. The 2 feet is that necessary? I mean, is it 3 feet, so they'd have enough room to do all this, or?
I mean,
What
we
do you
could go
think?
2 or 3 feet, just probably not more than that.
So it's workable, you think?
6, probably. I mean, if it's what we can get, it's just that, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a straight through then. We might be able to jog it or make the carport shorter so that we could maneuver, the trailer, kind of a little jog. I'm not sure if I would go to, like to talk to you about the construction of the French drain when I come here again, or, because going into the alley, I don't want to give a problem to the church. They had some issue, like they said, when the snow was coming off, that it was going to where people walk, like in their parking lot. And so they took some of our gravel and they made a little berm.
Is there any representation from the church here today?
Actually, the alley is like 15 feet wide.
Yeah, so I don't think
So
that'd be
I
an
don't
issue.
think
Oh, okay.
that that was an issue because
Okay.
it shouldn't go, I mean, I don't think the snow, unless it's blown, will go 15 feet.
Right.
Yeah, and again, the biggest issue I have is drainage. How far, is it 2 feet from the edge of the roof or 2 feet from the actual wall of the structure?
Well, we can make it 2 feet from the edge of the roof.
2 feet from the edge of the roof. Mr. Coca, do you have any other questions?
No, that was going to be my question, is a setback from the wall or from the overhang on the roof? Because we're looking from a 7 to a 2 foot, and if you have an 18-inch overhang, you're looking at 6 inches.
Yeah, we'll make it so the roof goes from the edge of the roof.
Actually, I'm not sure, it doesn't, let me check something real quick.
I know I've run
I
across
think
that.
that the roof is like attached to the poles, like, because it's a moon
That-
roof that comes and.
There's not,
That's correct, but there's an overhang, according to your picture, there's an overhang from the actual post to the edge of the roof.
Okay.
And it's either, I don't know, it looks like either 12 or 18 inches, according to the
I see
picture.
what the-
Actually, yeah, that's a picture that, yeah.
Mr.
Actually, he's got
Romero,
the
may I say
actual
something?
Yes,
plans.
Mr. Guerrero, yes,
I
sir.
see it.
A lot of these carports don't even have an overhang. It just comes to the wall and then straight down.
Right, that's what I thought, but we had to get, for the Eagle, the company we were going with, they sent us like the plans, and I'm looking at what Mr. Lemaire is looking at. It does overhang, but I can see if they have a different type of roof. because-
Actually, if you look on that, they have the one that has, I'm looking at the same thing you submitted. And there's one that,
That wraps right onto the post.
Yeah, that's what I would,
yeah, there's one that kind of like, yeah, kind of curves right
Yeah.
there.
Okay, so
I've had before.
So with that said, Mr. Borrella, do you have
No, the other question that I had is on the setback on the alley. How's the drainage gonna work there? Are you gonna put it all the way across the back of the carport into your own property, or where's it gonna go?
For the draining,
Yes.
well, I could put a rain barrel and make it go, but, I mean, the rain barrel can overflow if it's too much rain.
The biggest question, and if you don't mind, I'll continue with that, Mr. Varela.
Go ahead.
The biggest question is gonna be, if you do have an overhang, like the picture here, then you would need to apply gutter. Without an overhang, you would need to deal with the drainage in the respect of a French drain, because you can't actually attach gutter to the other type of
Right.
of structure. So, in all reality, drainage, if you're talking about is it a 4 foot from the back alley, Maria? 4 foot from the back alley, that would actually still drain into their property. But again, because I'd like to speak on behalf of me being a property owner, I would really request that I don't have a problem with the building being, whether it be the wrap type or the overhang type, being 2 feet from the fence line to include a French drain and gutter if it's got an overhang. If it doesn't have an overhang, at least a French drain
Okay.
as a property owner. But that's for us, all of us as a body to consider. Do you guys, any other questions from the board?
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Coca?
Nobody here to...
Mr. Sweeney?
No, other than, what is a French drain?
A French drain is actually where they would actually dig like a little, a hole and put some perforated pipe with some gravel, so that the pipe would actually, the gravel would catch the water and anything that runs off that roof.
I've seen them, yeah.
Yeah, and then it would filter through the gravel and then run out the back of the property.
That doesn't seem unreasonable to me. Requesting gutters and the French drain.
Yes, sir.
So there's two types of French drain. One would not have a perforated pipe to where it would leak out the water into the gravel. The other one is a solid pipe that runs it out to the gutter, so it'll run out the street. Now,
I think the French drain that I'm thinking about is what Mr. Romero talked about, putting a gravel with
There's actually a perforated pipe that you would put in. And the reason I request that again is because my property sits lower than yours, so even if it's just gravel, it would still run into the
run.
property. And there's a house like right there. It's, I've got a driveway on the front half and then there's a house in the back, so that's the concern of mine. And as long as the drainage issue is dealt with, I'm fine with it.
the other solution would be a small retaining wall, just a little curved type thing, like center block,
I- I-
8 by 16.
And I think a French drain would be much
Much cheaper, yes.
much cheaper.
okay.
But is there any other questions? With that said, is there a motion on the floor?
I can make a motion. I move to approve the application for variance with the setbacks listed here, with the French drain and gutter addition,
Depending on the roof size,
depending on the roof type.
the French drain and gutter depending on the roof.
There's a motion by Diane Lindsay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a second by Mr. Sweeney. Roll call. Maria?
Eugene Romero,
Yes.
Mike Sweeney,
Aye.
Manny Varela,
Yes.
Diane Lindsay,
Yes.
Joe Coca.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is an application submitted by Helen Schrader for a zone change from R1.
No, the second is an application for special
Oh, I'm
permit.
sorry.
Number 2.
I'm blind today, I'm sorry. An application for approval or disapproval for a special use permit to allow for live work area at a property located at 715 4th Street. The application was submitted by Sandera Hart, property owner. Go ahead and come up. How are you?
Well, how are you all?
Good, thank you. Would you like to tell us about your project?
Essentially, I would like to live in the workspace at 1715 4th Street. It's currently, you'll see from the plan there that I'm assuming you will have a copy of. The Knutsons owned the building before I bought it last month, and they built an office and a bathroom. So it's pre-existing, and I would like to turn the office into an apartment. It's my bedroom, living area, and then the rest of the space that currently exists where they had their construction shop with my art studio. So nothing really is changing. The bathroom doesn't have a shower right now, so a shower will be added to the bathroom, but there is a toilet and a sink. It's a functioning bathroom. And there is a drain in the office already pre-existing for a sink for a small kitchenette, which is ample for me because I spend more time working in my studio than doing the
Maria, we're doing a zone change on this one?
No, this is a special
A
use permit.
variance? Okay. So question, was there one in place before the property was purchased?
No.
From the Knutsons?
No, they used to use the area that she's trying to change into the residential space, used to be their office.
Okay.
And I would like to maintain that it's a commercial building, with just, as Maria said, the special use to be able to live on site because I work, different hours, and it's a preference for me to be around my space when I work.
Yes, ma'am. Are there any questions from the board?
And so in terms of the building, nothing is really going to change. There's, as I said, the plumbing, there's a couple of plumbing things I would like to add in addition of a spigot outside. But other than that, it will be, there's nothing going to change in terms of how the building looks right now, how it currently exists.
I've got a question.
Mr. Varela?
You mentioned only one bathroom,
Correct.
and the way that I'm thinking it is if you're going to have people there,
Currently, that is not the plan, so
is there going to be another bathroom added to the?
not at this present time because I don't need it. There are no other people but myself working in the space, so I don't need two bathrooms. Obviously, if that changed, then I would need to look at that addition. But for right now, I come here today not to ask for a permit for my business. I'm asking for the permit to live in the space, and it has an ample size bathroom that's sufficient for me.
Maria, I've got a question. Do all places require as a bathroom for customers required on all business places or not?
Actually, this bathroom has access through two sides. Okay, they had if you look at the drawing, the bathroom has access through two locations. Because they used to have their workshop and then from the office. So, but I don't know if it's required, two of them are required. I'd have to check with CID on that one.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, the only reason that I was asking this is because if you're going to have people there, like I said, this is going to be a showroom, right?
Correct. Well, potentially, yes, in the future. For right now, no, not at all. For right now, it's just for me.
Oh, okay.
I kind of gave you my long-term goal of, maybe in the next year or so. Obviously, I would need to apply for a business permit to have my business there. So therefore, I would obviously share that with you guys when that happened, but for right now, I'm really just coming to you to ask, can I live in that building? My understanding is if I turn it into a gallery/showroom, from what I've spoke to with other galleries in Las Vegas, my understanding is if it's under, is it 2,500 square feet, you only need one bathroom. Again, if you would check that, but I have spoken to other galleries in the area to sort of ask, what they kind of had to go through in regards to it becoming a gallery, and that's what they told me. But obviously, you guys know, but certainly for right now, it's not going to have, people coming in. It will really only just be me.
So currently, you're just asking for variance to be living in the building?
I'm asking for a special permit.
I'm sorry, a
of
special use
course,
permit.
to be able to live in the
Yes,
building.
okay.
And the bathroom is ample at this point.
Any other
And to
questions?
Maria's point, there are two entrances to the bathroom, so maybe that's something for a conversation further down the road, but you can actually access the office area, if you see from the plan, and the gallery from two separate entrances, therefore it works.
would serve the
The
purpose.
Knutsons did a really good job of where they built the office, it kind of works, so.
Any other questions, Mr. Barrera?
I don't have any questions.
Dan?
No.
No? Mr. Coca?
For Maria, all these special use permits, are they issued indefinite, or is there a time?
That's your decision. Most of the ones that we've issued in the last 2 years have been permanent. So, because right now, the ones that we did on Bridge Street were permanent in case the owner decided to sell, He did sell. Remember, we went to, 125, 127 Bridge Street? We did those 2 special use permits. Roy Montalban and Julie Tumblety sold one of the properties, the other one's leased. But the owners can live in the back if they want, But those were permanent. Those go with the property whenever, and it's up to you. You can do it for 5 years, 10 years, or you can make it permanent. That's up to you. And most of this, unless she sells and they want to convert it back to whoever she sells it to, if it's a permanent one, they can come back and remove that. You know what I mean?
So it's up to the board,
To decide how you guys want to do it. If you guys want to do
to
it
set a
permanent,
stipulation.
or if you want to do it for 15 years or 20 years. But most people that do the live workspace,
It's a permanent thing.
we've done them permanently for the last few years that we've done.
Mr. Coca, any other questions?
No, the only reason I'm concerned about that is because about 5 years ago, we granted some people on South Pacific to remove that brick wall, that stone wall, right across from Joe Delgado's.
We never granted them permission.
We let them so they could move in that trailer. They removed the wall, moved in the trailer. The wall never went back up. They have a bunker there and that's it. And it was supposed to have been, so anyway, that's why I ask, is it permanent, temporaries?
It's up to you. And that one was supposed to be handled by code enforcement. We've been trying to get that done for,
Okay, I understand your question, Mr. Coca. And as a board, we can stipulate, again, like Maria said, whether it be permanent or temporary or 5-year or 10-year, or upon the sale, if you were to ever leave, upon the sale, that it would
That makes
change
sense.
back. But I think that,
I'm not changing any, it sounds like there was a wall taken out, I'm not asking to change any part of the exterior structure. It exists as it is.
yes, ma'am.
And then the inside.
Any other questions from the board?
I think I just want to make a comment. It seems
Dan?
like I don't see a point in stipulating a term. Is there a point in doing it?
I think if any term would be stipulated, it would be maybe upon the sale. Again, if you were to ever move from that property and you were to sell it, then the change of use would go away. I mean, and that's just a suggestion, that's not, that's up to the board. So with that, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve the application for a special use permit to allow for a live-work area on 715 4th Street with no stipulation.
There's a motion on the floor by Dan Lindsay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's
I'll
a
second the
second,
motion.
there's a second by Mr. Barrera. Roll call, Maria.
Joe Coca,
Yes.
Manny Barela,
Yes.
Eugene Romero,
Yes.
Mike Sweeney,
Yes.
Diane Lindsay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, there's an application, I think now I'm on the right one.
Yes, you are.
An application submitted by Helen Strader for a zone change from R1, single-family residential zone, to an R2, multifamily residential zone to be allowed to remodel garage and add an apartment at the rear of 1227 6th Street. Ms. Strader, are you here?
Yes, I am.
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Go ahead and tell us what you're wanting to do and
Okay, I bought the house approximately 10 years ago, and it's a big two-story brick in the middle of the block of 6th Street between Baca and Friedman. Has a big backyard and a long driveway to the back. There's an alley in the back also, and it has a two-story garage, which is in pretty bad shape. And I can't really tear it down and start over because the setbacks will be changed. And so mainly I just want to put some siding on the garage. But since I have plenty of space back there, I'd like to put a studio apartment. At first I thought I wouldn't rent it. I thought it would be a good solution for artists who like to have special lighting. And I thought, since this is a two-story garage, putting a studio apartment at the end with the upstairs, an upstairs loft which would face south would give great light for artists. But after I got to thinking about it a little more, and people started asking me if I'd rent a room to them in my house, I thought maybe I ought to just get a regular studio apartment and rezone the property so I could rent it. And I talked to an architect about it, and what we decided would work best is to leave the garage pretty much as it is, except I'd like to extend it a couple of 2 or 3 feet so that we have some extra storage in the garage. But then on the south side, where the garage ends, I have about 22 by 24 feet. I don't have a slab poured, but I have it ready for a slab. And what I envision is a 2-story apartment. The main level would have a kitchen, a half bath, and a seating area. And then there would be a loft for the bedroom, and the bed would be on the loft with a 3/4 bath and a stackable washer and dryer and a little area. Now, since the garage is 2-story, I'd like to take some space from that garage, which would abut the studio. I'd like to take some space on the 2nd floor to extend that loft, so it would be a little bit larger. But essentially, the way it looks from the street is pretty much the way it is now, except it'll just have an addition on it. And I drew kind of a basic plan. I'm not an artist or an architect, but I can show you what it would look like if you are interested. You are? So what is here now, this is the roof of the garage, this is the front. It has two doors, they're separated. So each garage is separated, it's not one big garage. And then the studio apartment would be right here, this is south over here. And so I would just extend this, so it'd have a front door and a couple of windows, and then have this loft. Part of this loft, since it's not gonna be the whole size of the downstairs, part of it would go into that upstairs of the garage.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board?
Yeah, I have some
Diane?
questions. You mentioned the garage wasn't, I don't know if you meant not in good shape.
Oh, it's falling down, it's been there over 100 years.
Okay, so,
I can't really tear it down without starting all over and doing new setbacks. The garage is structurally okay, except for the roof. I have to put a new roof on. And that'll entail quite a bit, I'm sure, because it's probably rotten. But I want to put new siding on the garage, of course, new garage doors, and
but structurally it could handle an addition.
it can handle the addition over here. I mean, we're gonna have to start from scratch over here.
But this part would be on top of your garage.
Oh, yeah, but I've talked to the architect about that, and
They
he
can
said
handle
it's
that.
not a problem, yeah.
And the addition that you're talking about doing, does that meet the setbacks for,
Well, I'm gonna have to ask for a variance on that. I haven't poured the concrete, because I didn't know if I'd get the variance. I think
Right.
we're off, how much are we off, Maria?
The original garage looked like it was about 1.5 feet away. I'd have to actually go measure.
okay, so, but,
She wanted to go through the zone change first, and then,
okay, so, but for right now, today, we're not talking about anything about that. We're just talking about a zone change.
Yeah.
Okay, you can go ahead and step back if you don't mind, thank you.
But if you did get the zone change and the setbacks were not given to you, could you still go ahead?
I can still go ahead, it'll just be smaller.
Okay.
Okay, so, I guess what I should ask is, I heard somebody else speak, if there's people that want to speak before or against it, I'd like for them to, once she's spoken, then I'll ask for you guys to step up, if that's okay? All right? Do we have any other questions from, Ms. Strader? Or from Ms. Strader, I'm sorry.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Barrera?
The structure right now, what are the setbacks on that garage?
They go right up to the alley and the next lot.
Oh, so it was grandfathered in.
Well, it was built in 1902,
Oh, my goodness.
and at that time, it went right up to the edge of the lot and the alley. And there's a fence there. There's a fence on all sides. So there's really no room to do anything except put new siding on what's already there.
So you're asking for a multifamily zone change so that you can have a house and make your garage into an apartment?
Not the garage, I keep the garage as it is. I just want to add a studio apartment on the end.
Okay, so again, if you're talking about a zone change and you're wanting to go make a garage into an apartment, that would be multifamily. But if you're saying that you're gonna add to the garage, that would be a whole different animal, because today we're dealing with a zone change and not a variance or
That's right.
to change the setbacks.
I
So-
don't see any point in asking for a variance till I know if you're going to change the zoning.
And I mean, in my opinion, and I just feel like it's kind of backwards. Because you're telling us you want to have multifamily there, but it's not going to be with a garage. It's going to be with the addition to the garage. And the addition to the garage probably without a variance will not meet setbacks.
Okay, but this apartment will have a garage. I only need one garage. I only need one bay. The other bay, I will be next to the apartment, and I envision being able to drive in there and have a door that will go into that apartment. So whoever rents that will have a garage also.
Right, and I understand your point, ma'am. My question again would be, I feel like it's kind of backwards. Because in our reality, what you should apply for first, in my opinion, would be a variance if you're gonna be adding an apartment to an existing garage, because it's not gonna meet the setbacks, okay? So that would make, we're like switching from a residential to multifamily without knowing whether you can even add to the garage without a variance. So in other words, you wouldn't have,
If you can.
I can.
you can,
It will just be a foot smaller.
okay.
It's only a foot smaller.
Okay, and that's my question, because, I want to make sure that we're not changing the zone if it's not possible to have an apartment there too.
Right.
Okay? Would you guys like to, if you don't mind, Ms. Schrader, if you would want to sit back and let these people
all right.
come up, I appreciate that. Come on up, whoever would like to speak on this.
Can you have them state their name and their address, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
This is my father, Andy Gallegos,
Mr. Gallegos. And your address, Mr. Gallegos?
1229 6th Street,
1229 6th
right
Street.
next door.
He's very hard
My
of
name
hearing.
is Andronico T. Gallegos. I am also known as Sandy T. Gallegos.
See, Mr. Gallegos.
I
Introduce the,
reside at 1229 6th Street, and I've got a property right behind it, which is 609 Freeman. And
Yes, sir.
I oppose the apartments. I don't want no apartments. I lived in Commerce City, and I lived right in a beautiful community over there. I never had no problems or nothing. Before I knew it, they put some apartments over there on the west side. Then, before I knew it, they put one right next to my house on the east side. And actually, we had nothing but trouble, nothing but trouble. Everybody would come in, they would tell me, about what I'm gonna do to fix apartments and everything. They don't belong to me, I said, they belong to someone else. We have a lot of problems when they bring people from the other side to have apartments. Now, this is supposed to be, to me, when I moved in, they told me that this was a residential, historic property and community. Now, if we open it up and we have apartments today, what are we gonna have tomorrow? Tomorrow, we're gonna have probably somebody who will wanna put a porno or video shop or something, and everything will be okay. No, actually, we're too close to the school, to everything, and why should we endanger anybody or anybody's life, with this? Because whenever you bring people into apartments, you have all kinds of people. Some that drink, some that have, I know what it was, because they even threw bottles, and one time they busted my window on me because they had their party. Another time they went running through the street, they threw a rock, and they almost hit my wife. She was sitting on the couch and they almost hit her. So I know what apartments bring. They bring nothing but trouble. And actually, I oppose it. I oppose it 100% that I oppose it.
understood, sir.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
also that garage, when we got the land surveyed, the fence line, we own 1 to 2.5 feet of that where the fence is made, it needs to be pushed out that way.
We have
Not only
pictures.
that, the garage is built as a fence in our property.
If we can we show you the pictures?
Yeah, please. If you don't
And what
mind.
is your name?
Lori Lee, Trudy?
And your name, sir?
Luis Gallegos.
Luis Gallegos?
We are at 609 Freedman.
That's her property and our property. And here's the fence line.
The garage is built as a fence in our property.
Yeah, because she would
That's
have
what the garage looks
to
like.
remake fences, everything.
Yeah,
Show me on here, because I'm confused.
okay, so.
There's Sixth and there's
You mean the
Friedman.
fence
That's
is
the property
encroaching
you're
on
looking
your
at.
property?
Yes, I'm next.
Yeah,
Oh,
see,
you're right
this
here.
is how the fence is
Okay.
made,
Right next
by,
door.
right next to the garage. This is the garage, what it looks like,
Yes.
okay? And that garage is built 2 feet, a foot to 2 feet into our property because we had the land surveyed.
Okay, so in this picture,
Yeah.
So
is that
we're
you?
here and she's here.
See, so it's a whole other ballgame when it comes down to trying to even build anything back there.
Into our-
Okay, and show me where,
And not only that,
So when she would have to rebuild, she would have to take off all this part and
This is
redo a
Friedman.
fence.
okay, yes, so this is
So
our home, 609 Freedman. So the garage is right here in the corner because this is the alley.
she's showing the picture right here too.
Yeah, this is the alley. Yeah,
See, here's
see,
the
there's
fence.
that garage is built right
the
here
garage.
and is parked as the fence, yes.
so it's built onto your property?
Yeah, by that much, see, by a
That
foot to 2 feet when we surveyed the land. And it's also looking at the courthouse. So how is it possible for that I am aware, a garage is supposed to be 5 foot from a fence?
Yeah, but again, it depends on when it's built.
Oh, right.
That's all
This was
part of
built in
this.
1902.
If it was built that long ago, there's people that build homes right on the property line,
And
so.
there, yeah.
Yeah, so that,
Get grandfathered in, but obligations to it because of that.
There's a lot of properties here in Las Vegas that are built right on the property.
Right on the
Right.
property line.
And it's
Yeah.
historic, we understand that, but it's historic.
Yeah, I know.
see, and again, we need to stipulate what,
This is where the garage is.
we need to stipulate exactly what Ms. Strader's asking for today, which is a zone change. It's not allowing, we're not allowing anything to be built or
Yes.
structures added. That would have to come before us again, okay? So, right now, from residential one family to residential multifamily, it's still residential. It's just that it's allowing for more people or more people to live on a property, or in 2 different buildings on a property. Okay, so, I want to stress that, and again, I think it kind of was backwards, but it's brought before us today to say whether we can go from a single-family residential to multifamily residential. So I would suggest if there's other issues like that you bring them before the city or bring it, when they come to apply for variance to do that kind of stuff, then I would suggest you present it then. And I know I can't tell you what to do or how to do it, but, we appreciate you coming today. But again, this is all just from a single family to a multifamily zone, okay? And it's not, and please explain to him, it's not like being multifamily zoned, that doesn't mean that they can put up a business or 2 businesses like, what he's talking about. It would just be rental units, if it's approved, to go from single family to multifamily. And then for the variances that would be involved for them to be able to change the structures that they want to change to, okay? Any questions, Mr. Varela?
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Coca? Diane?
Yeah, I think it's actually too complicated for us to give that approval for a zone change under the circumstances. if the property lines aren't
Go ahead,
agreed
step
upon,
back if you
and,
don't mind. Thank you.
I just feel like there's other things that need to be settled before we could actually go with it. I mean, I think it's great to have a studio apartment on the property, but, I think there's some other problems that need to be settled first. That's the way I look at it, the property line being one of them.
Mr. Sweeney?
I agree with Diane on that. It's, I think she's putting the cart before the horse, asking for this first.
Does anybody else want to speak on, yes, sir?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, my name is Ernest Quintana.
Thank you, Mr. Quintana.
Thank you. I know both families, I know both places very well. And Mr. Gallegos has such a beautiful place. He has actually been honored for having such a nice, clean place. On the other hand, Ms. Schrader has a beautiful place too. The only thing is that garage needs to be repaired, and she does have a good idea. I don't think that she would, change the character of the place by fixing that garage. I'll give you an example. I used to own a carriage house. That's the old Springer house. And the old Springer house was a rundown place, and the trees were down, it was full of bats, and it was just a very bad thing. And the carriage house, which was built right on the lot on 6th Street, it was a crime to tear that place down and do something with it. In fact, we had an appraiser that was so conservative that he gave us a value of $0 on the carriage house. I think you know which one is. It's on the corner of 6th and Washington. And it was the old Springer house, and then they call it the carriage house, simply because one of my friends wrote the name carriage, because it was a carriage house, pretty much like this garage is. And we could not tear it down because then we would violate the setback rules. Once you tear it down, you have to move down. I am very well acquainted with all the zoning regulations of this town and the county. And so what I had to do, they said, if you can go ahead and convert your carriage house into an apartment and go zoning like you're saying. You are absolutely correct, and you're giving her very, very good advice. Zone it first, and then proceed with your building. I think it should be fixed. But what I had to do with my carriage house is I had to build a trestle inside it and lift it up so that I would not move it. It was moving back and forth like this, and then we built a foundation and set it right back in order not to violate your ordinance. I think that if she was to rezone it for multifamily, it is an asset to the town of Las Vegas. I don't think that this town will, 6th Street is everybody's, it's a very, very beautiful street. The trolley used to go through there. And students of New Mexico Highlands University beg you to please let me live in your house. We rented rooms to the whole world, to Afghanistan, to South America, India, And it was an asset to the community because the students come, they use the place, they rent a room, and they're an asset to our town. That's what we are, a university town. And we are a very friendly town. I don't think that we would have the bad neighbors that Mr. Gagos is afraid of having there. I don't blame him. I don't like bad neighbors, but I know Helen Strader, and I know the quality of work that she does. You have to go by and see what kind of work she does. And of course, Mr. Gallegos does too. I would not want to change anything for Mr. Gallegos. I have a tremendous amount of respect for that man, and he's one of our leading senior citizens here, and I would do anything to help him and let him live in the tranquility that he has. So I would say to you, give her the advice to zone. She's a good neighbor. She will, and Mr. Edwards is the finest neighbor you can have, and I would say help him with the advice that you're telling about. I recommend that you do that and help her out and fix that place out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quintana. So again, what we need to really look at today, guys, is that what they're applying for today is a zone change from single family to multifamily. We asked Ms. Strader what her plans were, because it's going from single family to multifamily. But in our reality, she's letting us know what she's planning. And someone else has their hand up. Trent, come on up. Please state your name.
My name is Trent Hillis. I'm a resident of Las Vegas, New Mexico, and I'd like to speak in support of Helen Strader's request for the zone change. I've known her since she moved to Las Vegas. She chose to come here because she's supportive of our historical values, of our culture, and this is the place she wants to live out the rest of the days of her life. I know what the property looked like before she bought it, and it is amazing what she's done to it. I've been inside and out. She's recently completed the landscaping, which complements our climate, our environment, and if you give her the change to redo this garage and what I've seen the plan for it, it will just complete the property. You know, right now, I guess you could say the garage is like, you know, where did that come from? But her plans are to make it blend in with the rest of the property, and I have every confidence that when that's completed, it will be a beautiful place and add a rental for the people of Las Vegas. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Trent. Anybody else in favor or against that wants to speak? Okay.
I have a question for Maria.
Yes, ma'am.
With an R2 zone change, is there a stipulation on how many people can be on the property, how many apartments?
The only thing she's asking for is one apartment.
Correct, but is
Okay.
there,
And if you had, let me see, the R2?
I didn't see that.
If you look at the R2, they can have a single-family dwelling, duplex, bed and breakfast, and a townhouse-type attached single residence shall be permitted on small lots, but that's not what she's doing. She's not going to have like 2 apartments in the back. You know what I mean?
Right. But even so, it's pretty minimal. You can't have a big apartment building on an R2, correct?
It doesn't say. It doesn't give the size.
Oh, okay.
All she requires for the R2 is the minimum lot size being 2,400 square feet. She has enough space in backyard to do one if that's what she, you know.
But there's not enough space to add other structures to the property?
Yeah, there is.
So she can actually, besides adding to the garage, she could add another structure to that property
She,
and meet the setbacks.
probably not with what she's adding. She could, but she doesn't want to.
Okay, that's not,
But no, the men, yeah, that's for townhouse type. You know what I mean? And those are like, but those are usually for what they do for big properties, okay?
okay, and again, I think we're going off subject because in our reality, what's requested of us here today is to go from a single-family zoning to a multifamily zoning. It's not, has nothing to do with her adding two structures, her meeting setbacks. That would be another meeting.
That would be another meeting, but I myself recommended that she ask for the zone change first, because it doesn't do any good to ask for the variance first
If you don't have the zone.
if you don't have the zoning.
Right.
So, I mean, if we
Understood.
ask for the variance, it would be putting the cart before the horse.
Understood?
Okay,
So-
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am, Dan Lindsay.
There's a couple problems, and one is Mr. Gallegos has brought up, that once you change the zone, somebody could put in apartments, if there's enough room on that lot. Now, I don't know, I don't think there is enough
If you
room.
look at the, and these are just measurements that I did from Google Maps, I didn't actually go look at the whole thing. Because the drawing that Ms. Strader gave me had no measurements. So if you look at, there's already a shed in the back, which is about 7 feet away from the alley. That's just my measurements from Google Maps. You know, I can actually do. And from what I can, from what I saw from Google Maps, that garage is actually, but it might not be accurate, because it just, the way you looked on Google Maps, there, it's kind of not very, you know, you can't get very good measurements. And then she's got a gazebo right there, so she would not have space to do anything else except that 22 by 24 apartment, or smaller if she needs it. She wouldn't have space to do anything else.
Okay. What are the wishes of the board?
Anybody else?
Somebody else.
Did you raise your hand to speak, sir? No? Okay.
I did get an email from one of the neighbors,
Okay.
Mark Gillingham and Beth Urick, and they're one of the ones that got a notice. And it says, "We agree with the petitioner, Helen Strader, that a zone change is warranted for 1227 6th Street. Infill is important to supply sufficient housing in Las Vegas."
So they're in favor.
They're in favor.
Any other questions of the board?
I don't have anything.
I guess I'm still stuck.
Dan?
What would it take for somebody to put in an apartment complex on a residential area? I can understand what his problem is with this. It's,
She doesn't have room to put in a apartment
I mean-
complex.
But she's asking if somebody else, we changed
wanted
the
to-
zone, somebody else wants to come in and put an apartment complex, once that zoning is changed, is it possible for them to do that?
The property's not big enough.
thank
No,
you.
not
Thank you.
Ms. Schrader.
I mean, the property itself, the size of the property. I mean,
The size of the property does not for an apartment building, because apartment buildings usually have 4, 8, 10, 12 apartments. Or like, I'm thinking, the ones I've seen, I haven't done one in about 5 years, but the last apartment building was 8 across, 8 the second floor.
so if we
So
change
16.
this to, on R2, we're not opening the door to the possibility of an apartment complex. That's what I'm asking.
No, because there is not room enough for an you know.
Doesn't meet the square footage.
It wouldn't meet, you know, because it's only room for like one apartment, not for 2 apartments or 3 apartments, you know what I mean?
And if they were to tear down all the buildings, would there be room?
Probably not.
Okay, thank you.
And the other question is the property lines. I don't know what happens when things get grandfathered in? I don't know the times.
The grandfathered in items stay as is unless the buildings are removed.
So the property.
Let's say
line-
that is a civil matter between the neighbors. The property line deal is a civil matter between the neighbors. If the neighbors think that she's encroaching on their property, it's a civil matter. They have to take it, I believe, to district court. Or municipal, I'm not sure if it's municipal magistrate or district court, but they have to take it to court. And the courts will decide what's that, because that building has been there since like 1920, something like that, maybe longer. I don't know exactly when that garage was built.
1902.
Okay. And whenever those buildings, back before there was rules and regulations in the late 80s, late 70s, early 80s, everybody built however they wanted. We have seen, since I took over all this stuff, we have seen so many people that brought in surveys, because they got boundary surveys, they just purchased the property. Their property is encroaching either into an alleyway, part of the street, or part of the right-of-way, or into the neighbor's property. And that's the way they were built, because there was no meets and bounds. It was this rock there or that tree there, you know. There was actually no meets and bounds descriptions for the lots.
So if the zone change is approved today, before anything is added to the building itself, the garage itself, if she wants to work on that, all she wants, she can do that.
As long as she gets a permit.
Right, but as far as meeting setbacks for an addition, anything like that would have to come before us again. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what are the wishes of the board?
I believe that we should go ahead and approve this zone change so that the applicant can go ahead and try to see if she is able to meet the requirements that are needed in order for her to continue with her project.
Is that in the form of a motion, Mr.
Yes,
Smith?
I move that we approve, let me see, what was it? I move that we approve the application submitted by Helen Strader for a zone change from R1, single-family residential zone, to an R2 multifamily residential zone, to be allowed to remodel garage and add an apartment at the rear of 1227 6th Street, Las Vegas.
Mr. Sweeney, you might want to make sure on your motion that we cannot, this is for a zone change, it's not for them to do the addition. They can do all the remodeling to the garage as it exists if that's their choice with a permit. But if they're going to be adding on anything and it's not meeting setbacks, we cannot do that, sir.
No, we cannot. I don't know why it's written up that way if she just wanted the zone change.
So, Mr. Sweeney.
Because that's what it said on her application, so I just put on what her application said.
So do you want to amend your motion, Mr. Sweeney?
I would amend it to exclude the addition of an apartment at the rear of 1227 6th Street.
So there's a motion on the floor to have a zone change for Helen Strader for a zone change from R1, single family, to R2, multifamily. Is that correct, Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, that's correct.
There's a motion on the floor made by Mr. Sweeney. Is there a second? With no other stipulation, just to change from R1 to R2.
I'll second the motion.
There's a second by Mr. Coca. Roll call, Maria.
Mike Sweeney,
Yes.
Diane Lindsay,
Yes.
Joe Coca,
Yes.
Eugene Romero,
Yes.
Manny Varela.
Yes.
And can you restate that motion for us, Maria, to make sure we voted on it correctly?
Mike Sweeney made a motion to approve the zone change from an R1, single-family residential, to an R2, multifamily residential, and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
And it still
Motion.
goes to city council, so.
Motion passes. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Next on the agenda is an application for a 10-lot subdivision of the Crispin property located at 900 West Valencia Street in order to transfer properties to heirs of the estate of Carlos Agustin Crispin. Application
I will let
was
you know.
submitted by Elizabeth L. Crispin and Carlos V. Crispin, co-personal representatives of the estate of Carlos Agustin Crispin. Who is here to speak for the Crispinas today?
Good afternoon.
How you doing, sir?
Carlos Crispin Jr. I'm here to speak on behalf of my dad's estate. We have 22 acres located at 900 West Valencia Street, and we're trying to get them subdivided so we can give each one of our family members their designated pieces of property. We currently have city utilities already on the property. We have 8 meters for city water. Each property will have their own septic systems, and we'll be using the sanitation for the city, so we'll be requesting that, everyone gets their own dumpsters. And we also have an artesian well located on the property that we use right now until we get everything subdivided and assigned to each meter.
So the subdivision would consist just of family members and getting their piece of property per family member?
Yes. Yeah, we're not trying to sell anything or, build any kind of apartments or anything like that. It's just for our family. We will have 3 vacant lots that will be basically it's open range, it's mountain area that we can't really do nothing with. So it's just gonna be a total of 8 residential plots, and then the other 2 will be just open area where we can't build or nothing on it.
So, Maria, can I ask a question? I don't know, why is it that it's before us if they could have actually surveyed the property and just deeded a piece of property to each of the heirs?
Because that's what's required by the state of New Mexico. All
Okay.
subdivisions are required to go.
Okay, thank you.
I had to look it up to make sure.
You're not sure? Or you have to look
I
at
had to look it up to make
Okay.
sure. And then I remember that I looked at some of this old stuff that Gerald did.
Uh-huh.
And that one, they have to be approved through us and through city council also. Any subdivisions have to be approved through since they signed through us, through everything.
Okay, but there's 8 water meters on the property currently.
Yeah, we did that last year.
Okay,
But all subdivision plats have to go through us and through city council.
okay. I've had family members do the same, and there was water meters and everything, and all they did was divide acreage amongst.
Well, they don't
family
allow
members.
that anymore, and that's what
Okay.
I found out through the stuff that Gerald did.
Okay.
You have to actually go through a subdivision plat.
Okay, thank you. I didn't realize. Any questions of the board?
I have a question.
Lindsay? Yes, ma'am.
My only question, and I hope somebody can speak to it, is this was formerly Las Vegas Land Grant, and the only reference to the warranty that I can see was July 17th, 2018. And just that it was passed correctly, from land grant to Crispin's. And does anybody in your family have any information about that?
Well, my dad did, but unfortunately he passed away a little over 2 years ago, so I really don't have too much information on it.
You don't know how he obtained it, or how that warranty deed came out, how it happened?
Well, it was formally purchased I have the older deeds, I guess I'd have to go back and look, but it was purchased by my grandparents from another owner of the property, and then those owners sold it to my grandparents, and my grandparents sold it to my dad.
That would be enough information for me, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
I have a question. Was that formerly the Bone property?
The what?
The Bone property?
No.
Bone.
No.
They lived there.
Maybe I think it was, I
Pablo Bone lived there and owned it.
I think it shows that on the map.
think it was the property next door.
Further south,
Okay,
Like-
okay. Further south? Which one's further south? This one?
There's three different
no,
speed.
the Bonnie's that they own right next to the Rodriguez. So it's quite a ways from where they're at.
Are you, you're talking about the area where your gym is,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
The Bones lived west of there. I went there when I was a kid.
Yeah, we used to play there.
Not south, they lived west, west of your gym. Where your aunt lives, I believe, was where the Bones lived.
Amelia?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a whole different piece of property. That's
Okay, it's not involving any of that. No, that's all my question was, sorry.
And is there homes on the properties already?
Yeah, there's currently 4 homes, and then we have the gym,
Uh-huh.
and then we're gonna have the other lots available for my sister to build, myself, and my little sister Marisa.
Okay, so it's just strictly family.
Yeah,
It's not like you're gonna put lots up for sale and sell them off.
no, I mean, not right now, you never know what the future holds, but not right now.
Right.
This is definitely just for the family.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's nice to see that you guys can reap the benefits of what your dad and and your mom have done for you guys. It's always nice.
Yeah.
It's always better when they can enjoy you seeing it when they're alive,
Yeah,
but they did for the good of the family, so.
yeah.
Mr. Crispin, I've got a question.
Varela.
When part of that property used to be Gallegos, towards the mountain,
No, not that I know of. Maybe on the other property, because we have, all of our families own like adjacent properties. There's the,
yeah, well, I've been to the property, in that area there, but I didn't know it. I didn't know it all, but it was my understanding that where your gym's at, some of that property, kind of north of there, that used to be Gallegos, right?
oh yeah, that's the neighbors. Our neighbors, the Crispins that own the property next door, that's
Yeah.
where they lived on that piece.
El primo that used to own well, he passed away years ago. What was his name? Prudencio Gallegos.
So, are there any any more questions from the board?
I don't have any questions, really. I think that.
What are the wishes of the board? Is there a motion on the floor, or somebody want to make a motion?
I'll move that we approve the application for 10-lot subdivision of the Crispin property located at 900 West Valencia Street, Las Vegas, New Mexico.
There's a motion by Mr. Sweeney on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Mr. Varela. Maria? Roll call, please.
Eugene Romero,
Yes.
Diane Lindsay,
Yes.
Joe Coca,
Yes.
Manny Varela,
Yes.
Mike Sweeney.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you
Thank
guys.
you, Mr. Crispin.
Appreciate it.
Is that the end of the agenda?
Carlos.
Do I hear a motion on the floor for adjournment? How do you think about that word?
I'll make the motion that we adjourn.
There's a motion on the floor. By Mr. Varela, is there a second?
She didn't get in there. She had a bad day yesterday. She didn't get it today.
Everybody else has to stay the night, or what? There's a second by Mr. Sweeney. All in favor? All opposed? Motion, meeting adjourned. And I'm sorry for being late, guys.
This guy I know a lot.
Somebody will be well.
Motion to adjourn made by who?
By Mr. Varela, second by Mr. Sweeney.